"You mustn't come to the funeral," my husband Roger shouted at me when he learned that his father had passed away after a long illness. What wife doesn't attend her father-in-law's funeral? Despite my protests, Roger firmly refused, and I didn't understand why. On the day of the funeral, I sneaked in to observe, and there he was, seated with a woman I didn't recognize at the bereaved family's side. What on earth is going on? Who is that woman? I was shocked and confused, not understanding what was happening, but soon I would learn the shocking truth. I'm Catherine, 30 years old. I married Roger, a 35-year-old office worker, 3 years ago. We don't have any kids yet. Roger often travels for work, only coming home about 3 days a week. While he's away, I devote myself to my hobby of drawing comics. On his days off, we go shopping together, watch movies, and enjoy our time as a couple. Roger's mother passed away when he was a child, and his father raised him and his sister Sarah single-handedly. In the early days of our marriage, we often visited Roger's family, a 2-hour drive away. But when his father fell seriously ill a year ago, our visits gradually decreased. Roger told me, "Dad doesn't want you to see him in his emaciated state," so I refrained from visiting. One day, a call came in on Roger's mobile after he returned from work. "Oh, Dad has passed away." Upon hearing that, I stopped preparing dinner. Roger sighed deeply after hanging up. "Was that real? Did you hear that?" I asked. "Oh, his condition seems to have worsened suddenly." The one who contacted him was his Uncle Terry. The events leading up to Roger's father's passing happened in a flash, and Uncle Terry didn't even have time to call Roger. The funeral would be held the day after tomorrow. Roger seemed quite flustered due to the sudden news. As I watched him with concern, I softly spoke, but his response was unexpected. "I'll come with you to the funeral." "No, you absolutely can't come." "Huh? Why? It's obvious that I should go, right?" "Shut up. Just listen to what I say and keep your mouth shut." Roger stormed off to his room, hastily packing his suit and change of clothes. "But why? Can you tell me why?" "Shut up. I'm going to stay at my parents' house until the funeral is over. Just remember, you must not come to the funeral." "Wait, hold on a minute." Ignoring my panic, my husband Roger left the house. It's only natural for a wife to attend her father-in-law's funeral. So why isn't it okay for me to go? I was left feeling frustrated and confused. Unable to let it go, I decided to ask about the location of my father-in-law's funeral. I called my sister-in-law, Sarah, even though we don't usually keep in touch. She seemed oddly distant. "How come you know about our father's death, Catherine?" she asked. "I heard it from Roger." It's surprising that he contacted you already," Sarah replied, puzzled. Our conversation fell off, but I had no time to worry about that. Roger told me not to come, but I really wanted to attend the funeral. "I appreciate your sentiment, Catherine, but it might be best for you not to come," she said. "Why? My father-in-law passed away. I want to say my final goodbye." "Please," I pleaded persistently. There was a moment of silence before she responded, "All right, but keep this a secret from Roger, okay?" Sarah gave me the location and time of the funeral but told me to arrive later than the start time and sit where I wouldn't be noticed. I couldn't understand why I was being treated this way, but I took bereavement leave from work and decided to go. On the day of the funeral, I arrived a bit late as instructed. To my surprise, an unfamiliar woman was sitting next to my husband, Roger, in the seat of the chief mourner. Who is she? Why is she sitting next to my husband? I wondered, confused. I quietly took a seat in the farthest row back. I overheard whispers from the people in front of me. "Is that woman Roger's new wife, Lucy?" Poor Roger, his previous wife apparently handed him divorce papers and just left. I could hear voices speculating about me having an affair or being in debt. The shock was so great that I lost all strength, and my heart began to race. I never filed for divorce and we've never discussed separation. What does this remarriage mean? I thought, trying to catch up with the situation. From the rumors, I understood that the woman next to my husband was his new wife. She looked to be in her early 20s and occasionally caressed her visibly swollen belly, even under her loose funeral attire. When it was my turn to pay my respects, the previously quiet venue started to buzz. She really had the nerve to show up. What an insensitive woman, I heard as I approached Roger's row. When Roger caught my eye, his face turned ashen, and he looked visibly shaken. His new wife seemed oblivious to his distress. After paying my respects, I swiftly left the funeral home, escaping his piercing gaze. Headed to the city hall, where I took out my copy of the family register. It showed the registration, indicating our divorce had taken place 5 months ago. With my hands trembling in fury, my mind went blank. How could he dare to secretly file for divorce and remarry? I will never forget this. I gritted my teeth, resolved to take revenge on my husband. Even after a few days, Robert never returned home, nor was there any communication from him. Didn't he say he would stay at his parents' house until the funeral was over? I was filled with a desire to confront him, but I chose not to contact him, waiting to see what his next move would be. Why on earth would he secretly file for divorce and remarry all while living with me and keeping it a secret? There must be something else going on here. As I thought back on Roger's past actions, one by one, I noticed something and quickly switched on my computer. I remembered seeing him typing away at a blog on his computer in the middle of the night. Going through his history, I discovered a blog titled Roger the Dragon King's Wild Diary. There were no pictures of Roger's face, but there were pictures of his car and our home, so I knew without a doubt that it was his. As I read each article he had posted, the details of what he had been planning were written out, and my body heated up with surging anger. Ah, that's it. With a brilliant scheme in mind to get back at Roger, I called my sister-in-law Sarah and another individual. Preparing meticulously, I couldn't help but look forward to seeing the expression on Roger's face. On the day of the operation, I was standing in front of the house Roger shared with his new wife, Lucy. After a while, a delivery truck pulled up, and the delivery man began unloading packages. Lucy came out of the house and began exclaiming at the entrance. "What the hell is this? Whose packages are these? Hey, darling, what's going on?" Called by Lucy, Robert emerged, his eyes bulging as he looked at the multitude of cardboard boxes that had been delivered. "Who's it from?" As he leaned in to see the sender's name, he abruptly began acting suspiciously, spreading his arms to hide the packages. Well, of course he would. After all, with the sender labeled as ex-wife, there was no way he could keep his cool. Seeing this, Lucy raised her voice. "Ex-wife? What do you mean by that? I've heard nothing about this." Robert didn't respond to her but quickly paid the delivery fee of $200. When he did, he locked eyes with me, hiding in the shadows of a nearby lamppost. "Hey you, what are you doing here? I got your address from your sister Sarah." I turned to Lucy, who was watching our exchange with a puzzled look, and gave her a warm smile. "Nice to meet you, Lucy. I'm Catherine, the ex-wife of Roger who sent you these packages. Sorry to surprise you, but he unilaterally filed for divorce 5 months ago without telling me." When I showed her our marriage certificate, she seemed a bit taken aback, but then invited me in, saying we shouldn't cause a scene outside. Once inside the living room, I ignored my trembling husband sitting next to Lucy and began to speak. "Lucy, when did you start dating Roger?" "About a year ago. He said he was single." "I can't believe it." "Interesting. So he deceived both you and me." "Come on, don't say such horrible things." "Ha, it's just a simple misunderstanding, isn't it?" I was speechless at my husband's nonchalant laughter and utter lack of remorse. It's unacceptable that he filed for divorce without my consent. I'm suing him for $30,000 in alimony. He's been cheating, so it's only fair, right? Why should I have to pay that? While my husband fumed with anger, Lucy, on the other hand, seemed quite calm. "Well, don't be so stingy. Just pay her, darling. After all, you're the boss, so $30,000 shouldn't be a big deal, right?" Hearing that, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Lucy looked puzzled by my reaction. Who's the boss? Roger's been lying about that too, Lucy. He's just an ordinary office worker. What? Roger, what's going on? Lucy confronted him. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead as he began to make excuses. Lucy, I'm sorry for lying, but when my father died, I came into a large sum of money. His stupidity left me with nothing to do but laugh bitterly. From his blog, which I had found, it was clear he was under the delusion that he would inherit a fortune if his seriously ill father passed away. He had lied about his identity to his mistress, got her pregnant, and joyfully documented his plan to divorce me unilaterally. When I slapped the printed pages of his blog onto the table, the doorbell rang. My husband opened the door and there stood Terry, his uncle. There's no way you'd inherit anything, you idiot. In fact, besides Sarah, Terry was the other person I had contacted. Before entering this house, I had called Terry on my cell phone and had him listen to our entire conversation. You explained to our family that Catherine left you after having an affair and filing for divorce, didn't you? Roger seemed unable to come up with an excuse and started to get defensive. Just because of that, it doesn't mean I can't inherit my father's estate. I'm his son, after all. You've been disinherited. That's got nothing to do with the estate. Huh? What are you talking about? From what I heard from Terry, Roger was always pestering my in-laws for money. When my father-in-law rejected him, Roger would insult him and sometimes even resort to physical abuse. Recognizing his life was nearing its end, my father-in-law had taken the initiative to disinherit Roger. Hold on a minute, so you're saying I'm not getting a single cent? I've got debts because I was counting on my father's inheritance. What am I supposed to do? That's what you deserve, was all I could say. Your father wanted you to become a responsible person. That's why he thought it'd be better not to give you any money. Don't you understand his feelings? So give me the inheritance and I'll become more responsible. The more Roger spoke, the more I was filled with disgust, and it seemed Lucy, his mistress, felt the same. You told me you were a CEO. That's why I went with you. I've got no use for a poor man. Lucy, please don't say that. Our baby's about to be born. With that, she let out a big sigh and shot a glare at him. I'll give birth and raise the child by myself. All I need from you is alimony and child support. Lucy, please forgive me. Roger began to sob. But I wasn't about to let him off the hook. You'll also have to pay me alimony. That's impossible. I don't have that kind of money. Oh, I got it, Catherine. Let's give it another go. What? You had the audacity to file for divorce, and now you're asking to remarry. Please. I'm begging you, we can work together to repay the debt. Are you kidding me? I yelled, furious at Roger's selfishness. Shaking him off my leg, I left the house with Terry. Soon after, my ex-husband was served with divorce papers from Lucy, who was demanding $20,000 in alimony and $500 a month in child support. According to my sister-in-law Sarah, in addition to the $30,000 in alimony I had demanded, my ex-husband was swamped with a debt from the mortgage on the house he lived in with Lucy. He was reportedly working like a horse from dawn till dusk. Meanwhile, I was enjoying a carefree single life. Sarah, who used to be my sister-in-law, and I had become great friends. When she comes over to stay, we have a great time chatting. To top it off, a comic strip I drew based on my ex-husband's blog post has received a phenomenal response on social media, and I'm going to publish it. Excitedly contemplating the title for the comic, I'm enjoying